sophistry. And sophistry is simply defined as the use of fallacious reasoning and the manipulation of language to deceive and mislead others. Rhetoric is the art of persuasion, and that can be used for good or for bad. But in sophistry, it's used for promoting something that you may think is a good idea in the end. In fact, a lot of times dishonest representation of the argument or fallacious arguments are used to promote something that they justify using sophistry because the end justifies the means. They want you to believe this in the end because they think it's good, but how they get you to that point, they're willing to use unethical or deceitful procedures. So that pretty much sums up what we talked about last week. One more thing, experts. People would say, well, this expert says this, as this expert says that. They're totally at odds with each other. And the assumption you're making in your head is that they're all of equal weight. In reality, it's almost never the case that two conflicting arguments are of equal weight. And even when you say there are other beliefs out there, they're almost never of equal weight when you actually analyze them to see what the justification is for those arguments, how sound they are, how acceptable the premises are. That's another. They can be deductively or logically sound, but the premises themselves that lead you to that logical conclusion, even though it's a valid argument, the premises might be very sketchy. There might be one premise in there that's okay. It does lead to that conclusion, but the premise is very weak. So there's all these things involved. When somebody today tells me this is what this expert over here says such and such, or these papers show this and that, it means absolutely nothing nowadays because of the problem of what we call irreproducibility in science and psychology and so forth. There is a host of papers out there that you can use to argue opposite positions, but more often the position that culture is embracing, because there is the coercive effect of culture on even academic research and whether you'll get funding or not, or whether you get tenure or not. So if you come up with if your position say a university is something that the university regards as culturally unacceptable, and by their view, by their definition of what's culturally unacceptable, you are very likely not to get tenure or even have your contract renewed at the end of your term if you're just, say,